are you ready? Okay, first of all, we have a thank you letter from our class.
Oh, okay.
When you came, from our grade, when you came and talked to us. So. Okay, so we're going to ask you a couple questions, and will you just answer them? Okay, so how did the concentration camp, affect your life?
Well, I think what it did was it made you feel very unimportant, really, when you stop to think about the people that were killed during the concentration camps. But I was pretty much shook up, I guess, when we arrived there. First of all, maybe I can tell you just a little bit more. I was in an infantry outfit which was attached to an armored company. And what we were doing was spearheading through the German lines. We'd go break through the German lines and be way out in front of where the actual combat was, the lines were. Well, so this armored company and my infantry, it was just a portion of my infantry outfit that went on the spearhead. So we were there relatively early, and we were there just almost right shortly after it happened, or after it was taken. But we had, well, I can remember I drove my truck. I had a truck with a cannon behind it, and I drove up to the gate, and there was just one other vehicle there. Well, it was only just two vehicles that were there, and we walked through the gate, and the first thing we saw was a pile of bodies there that they had shot before they left the camp. It shook me up quite a bit. The group that was lying in the courtyard there was one American soldier was involved in that, and he was, of course, he was still there when I came there. But many of the pictures that you see afterwards, his body had been taken away right away as soon as the American troop, the grave registration, and those people came, take care of the American soldier, and they took his body away and left. The rest of them were still lying there 10 days later. But it was well, it was when you first see stacks of bodies, 5 or 6 tall, or layers of bodies, it shakes you up pretty good.
Okay. The next question. About how big do you think the camp was? About how big do you think the camp was?
How
big do you think the camp was?
How big the camp was? It was a small camp compared to the major camp. The Buchenwald camp was one of, I think, probably one of two the largest. Dachau and Buchenwald were the big camps. But this camp that we took was a sub-camp of the Buchenwald camp.
Yeah, we saw that when we researched it.
Yeah. And so the camp, I don't know, there was probably 5,000 people in it.
Okay. When did you get out of the concentration camp?
When
did you get out of the concentration camp?
What? When did we get out of it?
Yeah.
Well, I was only there, half a day or so.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I wasn't in the camp. I wasn't a part of it.
Oh.
I was a liberator.
What does the liberator do?
We were the American Army that captured the camp and liberated the individuals that were still living there. I didn't see very many inmates that might have been, you know, still alive. I know I ran into one of them, and he was skin and bones, and he was lying in the top bunk of a barracks, and just like a wooden box. It was almost like just a sides on it about that high, and
So the beds weren't like comfy at all.
and I walked into the door. Well, I was let's see, there. No, so I was not in the high.
How are you?
How,
Did they have some good questions for you?
yeah, they're working on me.
Good, good. Ladies, I'll be right next door if you need me, okay? For a little bit. Thank you for coming back in.
Yeah.
We sure appreciate it. I know they do too. Thanks, ladies.
Yeah. I walked into this barracks, and when I went through the door, and right in front of the door there was this. They built barracks or bunks, straight at three layers high, and I walked in about eye level. Here was this guy laying there, just skin and bones, but he was one of the guys that probably, I don't know if he survived or not, but what they had done was they knew we were going to be taking the concentration camp soon, because so they evacuated all of the prisoners that could walk and made them walk to Buchenwald, which was 30, 40 miles away.
Oh wow.
And so he was in there. The rest of them that couldn't walk, they got them out in the courtyard and shot them. And they laid just in front of the gate as we walked into the. But it was, well, you've got.
Yeah, we were wondering about those pictures. We actually, Mrs. Haugen gave us a flash drive. And so these are all the pictures that you have, Matt. Photo of them. And these are just some of them.
Well, those are not all of them are constant. Okay. This is the gun crew that I had. I had a truck and we pulled this gun with these people on board.
Mm-hmm.
And this was another picture of the gun crew on after the war. After the war was over with, they were on a leave of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a picture of me and the crawler trucker that I was.
So that's you right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is one of the chateaus that we stayed in France before we went into combat. And I guess this is another one of it. And this is where they burned the bodies.
Mm-hmm.
They had and they used railroad tracks, the iron part, and put them up on blocks, and then laid the corpse across them, and then burned them.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a picture of the civilian life there. It actually is. This is kind of way most of the buildings look. They were pretty well ramshackle.
Mm-hmm.
This is for they were hauling manure waste from animals in these,
Mm-hmm.
and they took the waste out in the field and just spread it around. So that's just a civilian operation.
Civilian.
And this is the way we traveled when we were going anywhere. They put us in boxcars like this, and then I had a vacation to Switzerland, and I think I rode on that one there. That's another one of me in the bulldozer. And this, of course, is the courtyard. You see this was the American soldier here, the one covered up with a sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And if you, well, anyway, there's a picture someplace that I have that where but you see that this is kind of the American soldier is not there anymore.
Yeah.
And that was taken about 10 days later. That picture.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, that's when Eisenhower and all the big generals came to view the situation. Of course, here's a building that had the bodies in them.
Yeah.
And well, that's more of the same here. But so, and this, let's see, I think this is, whoop. I don't know if that's Cologne or not, big church in Cologne, Germany.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think she has a
What was something that stuck out to you at the camp the most?
What was it?
What was something that stuck out to you at the camp?
Well, death all over the place. That was, well, well, the fact that here there were, Germans are people too, but how anybody could do something like that is just mind-boggling. You just wonder how anybody can be that mean, although right here in Waverly, or not right here in Waverly, but right here in Iowa, the two little girls now,
yeah.
there are crazy people in this world, and that's, and there were just more of them over there, and of course, and a lot of them did what they didn't want to do because they were forced to obey orders. But it was mind-boggling. I never forget it. I think there was well, I've been in touch with I don't know if you got some of this or not, but I don't know if whether she copied everything or not, but I was after the war, and this was probably probably in '89 or '88 when I was over there. I went back to see the concentration camp, see if it was still there. Well, when I got there, they had completely wiped it off the map, and all you could see is, where the roads might have been. You could see the outline of the roads and the outline of the camp. But so I was there then. Well, I didn't see the camp then. I came back in '95, and that's when well, they wouldn't let me in, for the first time because it was the Soviet people were still occupying the country at that time. But so I was there in '89, I think it was, and I couldn't get in, and the camp guards, they just took my name and down, and I I suppose for, well, you don't know what, but then in 95, this one fellow who was in the camp came back to, to see the camp. And when they got there, why they told me, well, here's what, I gotta get my cheaters out. They aren't very good either. We've got your address from the soldiers in the order former concentration camp. We were just in order for April 26, 95, and Leo is this fellow who was in the camp, who was a prisoner there at one time. Last camp was Ordrup. The soldiers in the German military camp, now in Ordrup, camp told us you visited there. They said only 2 soldiers have ever visited there. Leo and I had been to Germany before, so anyway, that's how he got my address. And so he was living in Dallas, Texas at the time. And so I got these letters from him, and it told about some of the stuff that, I don't know, she probably didn't copy all of this, huh?
There was a lot on there. We didn't actually go through all of the flash
Pardon?
drive. There was a lot on the flash drive. We actually didn't get to go through like all of it.
Yeah. But here he tells about, in this letter, about what he experienced while he was in the wardrobe. So, I don't know, maybe you would like to.
Maybe at the end we can take a picture.
Pardon?
We can take a picture with our iPads of it. We'll take a picture of the letters.
Oh, you got all the letters on the internet or are on the?
We don't know for sure.
I think most of them are on the flash drive.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, he pretty much explains how life was when he was in the camp.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, we never saw any of that. We just saw the aftermath of it. And, I was one of the first ones in that camp after it was liberated. And, well, like I say, there were still living people there, but barely, and they're dead all over the place, so. Anyway, it was not a real good experience.
Okay, first, can you tell me what this is? It is another picture.
Oh. Well, this was very early in the time that I was in the service.
Mm-hmm.
They sent me to a warrant officer school for a matter of a couple months. I came out of it as I passed the exam, but
Yeah.
they didn't need any more warrant officers, so they didn't issue any more. I wasn't made a warrant officer. It was just a certificate proving that I had qualified. That's about all.
Okay. How did you feel when you got out, like when you left the camp?
When
When you left the camp, how did you feel?
well, I suppose more resigned to the fact that, hey, we got a job to do and let's go get it finished. And of course I was in on Spearhead most of the way, and we moved 10 miles a day. And then when we'd go through, and then the rest of them would follow up and clean up. We just, we'd break ground, but the other never cleaned up took prisoners, and we took some, but not many. The rest of them were the rest of the division was cleaning up the area, taking away the dead people and what have you. And Americans took care of the American soldiers that were killed and what have you.
Okay.
When you were at the camp, did you eat any food or sleep at all?
When
Did you eat any of their food that they had that they gave to their prisoners?
Do you know if like, how was like the food at the camp? Like, what did they serve them at the camp to eat?
The prisoners?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think mostly potatoes.
Really?
I think that was I don't know if it says anything in any of these letters here or not, but there was one story told about he was on a potato. His job was to deliver the potatoes to the various. But you know, just bare minimum potatoes, bread probably, and whatever. You know, they didn't have to feed them too good, because if they died, well, they'd find more. See, I mean, you know, they worked them. The prisoners at Ordruff were forced to work in dig caves and tunnels in the mountains. And Hitler was, well, Berlin was, here's where we were. Berlin was over, I'll turn it around. Berlin was over here, and the Russians were over here, okay? The Russians were, Hitler thought the Russians were going to take Berlin before we would. So he was going to bring his government to the area where they were digging all these tunnels. And then that's where he was going to headquarter and barter with the United States government to try and get the Americans to work with the Germans to defeat the Russians. I mean, he was more worried about the Russians, I guess. And so those tunnels that were dug were all by the inmates of this order of camp was to be his final headquarters. Well, it turned out that we got to the tunnels before the Russians got to Berlin. And so, he never made the move, but that was the intent, was to bring the German government into this area in the underground caverns that they were digging. It had the utility, power stations, all that, the communication centers, that was already built and in place, but like I said, it didn't work out the way he wanted to have it work out.
Okay, did you have like any friends that you knew in the camp?
Anyway,
Any friends that you knew that were in the camp?
in the camp,
No.
no, the only one that I learned to know later on was this Leo Laufer.
Leo Laufer?
Pardon?
His name was Leo.
Leo Laufer, Laufer.
Okay.
And I'd like to say, I wrote quite a few letters back and forth to him when he was in Dallas. And then he had children over in Israel who also were, instead of coming to the United States, they went to Israel instead. And so he would visit the children in Israel several times a year. And then finally he decided to move over there, and he's living there in Israel right now. So I haven't heard any more from him since, but let's see. There were two other people that I met that had been there as inmates of the camp. Well, there's one of them right there. And that was in '95 when we, the 89th recon outfit invited all of the members of my old outfit to Wichita, Kansas. And there we met two of the survivors of them. That was one of them. And yeah, there's another one. They're living in the States. But they told us about, and I don't know if you got copies of.
Okay. So like, what was like what was your task? Like, what were you supposed to go do?
Pardon?
Like, what was your task? Like, what were you sent to like go do? You were like,
I still didn't get it. What was it?
like, what was your task? Like, what were you supposed to go do?
What was I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
I was just a truck driver,
Mhm.
and I was pulling this gun, this howitzer, and then I had the gun crew was in the back of the truck.
So you were the driver.
I was the driver, yes.
Okay.
And then, of course, I would, if we were ordered to fire some rounds to then I would park the gun in its proper place. Then I would leave, and I would be there in case somebody needed help. I would be putting the shells in the cannon. But I never did that. Well, wait a minute, I did too. I did once, and almost got court-martialed over it.
Okay.
We have.
Yes. Okay, I've seen a couple of these. Like
Yeah, so you got copies of these, yeah?
Yeah, we got a couple copies.
No.
Yeah, this one right here. We don't know. Do you recognize this?
Pardon?
Do you recognize that?
Yeah, I'm not real sure. I'm not real sure about this letter here. You see, this was, it was written in 45, about the time shortly thereafter that it was taken. It was from this. I don't know where this letter came from. I think it came from one of the prisoners, probably Laufer.
Yeah.
He probably had this sent to him, because this is a letter from someone in the American Army that sent the letter home. So this is just information about what you might see or what he saw at the camp. But it's not my letter, and I don't know where it comes from, but it came from, I'm sure Leo Laufer sent it to me.
Okay, do you have any more questions? Did you get any injuries?
Pardon?
Did you get any injuries? Any injuries?
No.
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 Okay. So, do you have anything else? Because if not, then... Okay. Is there anything else you can tell us about Ordruff that you think we should know, or anything that
Well,
you'd like to tell us?
I think most everything is almost better explained by looking at the pictures, I guess. Other than what information I have in some of the letters that came from Leo Laufer. And there were, the main part of the camp, well, of course, there was barracks, and then there were several buildings that they had stored dead bodies in. There was, I walked into the barracks there and saw this one guy laying up there in a bunk, and I didn't go any further. It was far enough for me. But then I went to where they burned the bodies. I saw that there was still parts of bodies that was lying around. Well, the disposal of the bodies, the ones that weren't, that were supposed to have been, you know, cremated, in the shed at the store, and then the big group of people on the line on the ground as we came into the gate itself, so, I don't know, I don't remember everything that I probably felt like at the time, but,
Yeah.
it was not good. And the thing about it is, the part that bothers me, this was only a small camp. The major camps killed them by the thousands, you know.
Yeah.
And so